Hello everyone, this is News Reporter Jack reporting to you live from Harlem, New York. And just to let you know, racism led to fighting. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Racism led to fighting. And as I understand, we're going to find out what's happening in Mr. Antonio's classroom. I understand it might be kind of serious, but I want you to hold on and find out. I'm so sorry, everyone, and I'm really excited. And as I said, this is News Reporter Jack. Racism led to fighting, and it's all a part of the African-American journey. And let's find out just what's happening. I'm sorry, everyone. Well, as you can see, I'm not Mr. Antonio, the teacher. I'm actually Youth Pastor Emmanuel, and I'm just going to talk to you briefly about what we're learning today. It's racism racism led to fighting. Now, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 through 5 tells us this: For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And that's 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 through 5. God doesn't want us to get into fights with each other and kill each other. That's not something that God wants. Now, it talked about fighting or destroying strongholds. Strongholds in biblical terms often refer to places of refuge symbolizing safety and security. However, it can also represent mental or emotional barriers that sometimes protect people, or they can be harmful to people and keep you in prison in fear and doubts. That was some of the cause of the Civil War. The war started, and this marked a very bad period in the United States where people fought against each other. And here's some of the things. White people were afraid that if African Americans were free, they would take revenge upon them. They were afraid that they would lose all their money because all the free labor would go away. They also feared that African Americans would walk away from their plantations and they had to do all the work by themselves. So southern states decided that rather than follow the Bible, and that's what they knew, they decided to take up arms and fight the North. And we're going to learn in Mr. Antonio's class just what happened. Just think, this fighting in the Civil War led to 25% of the white male population in the South was killed during the Civil War. But let's find out just what happened and how racism led to fighting and how it caused a lot of problems. Okay, everybody, today we're going to talk about one of the worst periods in the United States, and that is the Civil War. This was bloody, awful, and let's just look at what caused it, and we're going to also talk about a little bit more. Now, Calvin, you have a question. What's your question, Calvin?
I have a question. Hey, look, we're all different races here. I mean, Greg, he's a monster, and Ari, well, he's a good guy, and Marvin, well, he's a good guy, and let's see, there's Shaniqua, Well, she tries to play Madden football, but she's not as good as I am. And, oh, there's a Delray. That's my cousin. He's from Nigeria. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Antonio.
Well, okay. Thank you for your question, Calvin. And, well, that's actually a comment. But let's talk about what happened during the Civil War. All right? So let's get into it right now. The fight over slavery began with a raid on the United States Armory in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. John Brown led a group of Brown's Raiders to Harper's Ferry on the night of October 16, 1859. The objective was to take the armory, the arsenal, the town, and then the rifle factory. Then they wanted to free all the slaves in Harper's Ferry. After that, they would move south with those newly freed people who wanted to join the fight to free other enslaved people. John Brown told his men to take prisoners who disobeyed them and to fight only in self-defense. Initially, they met no resistance entering the town. John Brown's raiders cut the telegraph wires and easily captured the armory, which was being defended by a single watchman. They next rounded up hostages from nearby farms, including Colonel Lewis Washington, the great-grandnephew of George Washington. They also spread the news to the local slaves that their liberation was at hand. Then an eastbound Baltimore and Ohio Railroad train approached the town. Brown held it and then, inexplicably or without reason, allowed it to continue on its way. At the next station, where the telegraph still worked, the conductor sent a telegram to Baltimore and Ohio Railroad headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland. The railroad sent a telegram to President Buchanan and Virginia's Governor Henry A. Wise. By the morning of October 18th, the engine house, later known as John Brown's Fort, was surrounded by a company of United States Marines and commanded by a first lieutenant named Israel Green. Colonel Robert E. Lee of the United States Army was in command over the whole forces. John Brown was captured and hung on December 2nd, 1959. Did you have a question?
I have a question. You mean that people hated each other so much that they were willing to die because they didn't like somebody? Because of their skin color? They hated each other that much? I don't hate people here like that. I don't see how that could be possible.
The Civil War was caused by about 5 different reasons. And, let's see here. The first thing the Civil War was caused by was slavery. This was the main source of income for the southern states, which made a lot of money off of the free labor from slaves. They also had 3 main cash crops. Now remember, these are things you could plant and make a lot of money. Tobacco, cotton, and sugarcane. The North was basically industrialized and filled with abolitionists, which were against slavery. Now that's for the first reason. The second one was economic differences. The North was industrialized, like I just stated. It was the center of manufacturing in the United States. The South was basically agriculturally based. And, they depended on the free labor from slavery. This led to conflicts over things like tariffs, and that's people importing things to the United States. And there's some trade policies, and also labor, because in the South you have free labor, whereas in the North you didn't have that. Now the third thing was political conflicts. Remember in 1849, the Republican Party started, and they were against slavery, and they wanted to free African Americans. Well, this caused a problem, and then in 1860, the Republicans elected their first president, which was Abraham Lincoln. This caused the South to split to form the Confederate States of America, breaking away from the Union. And the fourth thing is that they didn't believe in the South that they had state rights, because in the North they wanted to take away their slaves, their free labor, which made a lot of money for them. And because of their greed and their bigotry and their racism and their hatred, they wanted to keep things the way it was. But that didn't work. Now, there's also two things you have to remember, two compromises that failed. One was the Missouri Compromise. The Missouri Compromise stated that in 1820 that slavery could not go west, and it did not interfere with the small farmers who were in the states of Kansas and places like other places like Illinois, Indiana, that type of thing. So then in 1850, you had the Kansas agreement here, and that said that you could take slavery anywhere. Well, that caused a problem too. Oh wait, we have another question. Okay, here's my question, and I'm Greg, the best basketball player in Harlem. Look, I want to know, is that how it really started? And I thought that there was a base, a fort that was attacked. What happened? Well, the 4 years of bloody conflict from 1861 to 1865, to 1864, I'm sorry. It all started right on April the 12th, 1861, when Confederate P.G.T. Beauregard ordered the bombardment of Fort Sumter, which was in South Carolina, but it was a Union fort. And Major Robert Anderson, a Union commander, refused to evacuate his fort. The attack began in the early morning and continued for 34 hours, during which the fort sustained heavy shells, or a lot of bombs, from the Confederate artillery. And despite returning fire, the Union garrison was significantly outgunned and surrendered on April 13, 1861. The surrender of Fort Sumter united the North, and the President Abraham Lincoln called up 75,000 volunteers to put down the rebellion in the South. African Americans served in the Union as soldiers and also spies. And believe it or not, towards the end of the Civil War, African Americans who were still slaves also were made to fight for the Confederate States in order to keep their people enslaved. But this was terrible, everybody. Hey, I think that Youth Pastor Emmanuel has something else to say to us today. Well, just think, everyone. People had to die during the Civil War because of racism, bigotry, and prejudice. Just think what happened. All the young men, so many people had to die. And because of greed, because people wanted all that free labor, and they wanted to make sure that they could do evil things to other people. Well, it just goes to show you that people, if left up to their own, they're really evil and really mean. That's not everybody, but some people can do bad things. And because of the racism, it led to fighting. And that's something that we don't want to do. Remember the Bible verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 through 5. And remember, your weapons are not the weapons that we have today to fight war. That's what Paul was talking about. So stay in prayer and remember the strongholds. Remember that if fear and if all those strongholds have a hold in your life where you hate somebody because of the color of their skin, or you don't like people because they have a different accent, or you do bad things to people, that's not of God. And in the South, they had it wrong. That wasn't godly. Well, I have to go now. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you again real soon.